Dawn of Unity. The negotiations would take place on neutral ground, a massive space station constructed by the Cillian Alliance at the intersection of three major trade routes. As the human fleet took up defensive positions around the station, Admiral Henderson couldn't help but appreciate the irony. Less than a year ago, humanity had been fighting for its very survival. Now they were helping to reshape the galaxy. The Phoenix led the diplomatic delegation's escort, its battle-scarred hull a testament to humanity's journey. Captain Santos stood on his bridge, watching as ships from 24 species arrived for the historic summit. Among them were vessels from races that had been bitter enemies just months ago, all drawn together by the promise of something new. Quite a sight, isn't it? Director Ramon's hologram appeared on the bridge. She had been chosen to lead the human diplomatic team, her experience in uniting Earth's nations proving invaluable in interstellar politics. Who would have thought our first steps into the galaxy would lead to this? The Dominion delegation arrived last, their ships showing none of their former arrogance. The defeat at Earth and the subsequent campaign had shattered their aura of invincibility. But humans had learned that victory didn't require humiliation of the defeated. The summit began with a ceremony that would have been unthinkable a year ago. Representatives from Earth, the Dominion, the Cillian Alliance, and 15 other major species gathered in the station's grand chamber. Above them, through the transparent dome, the combined fleets of multiple civilizations held position, not in battle formation, but in a display of unity. Director Ramon took the podium first. We gather here not to celebrate victory or mourn defeat, but to forge something new. Humanity entered the galactic stage as victims of aggression. We proved ourselves in battle, but that was never our true strength. Our power lies in our ability to adapt, to innovate, and most importantly, to unite in the face of adversity. She gestured to the assembled delegates. Each species here has something unique to offer. The Dominion's organizational capability. The Cillian's diplomatic finesse. The Arcturian's scientific insight. Humanity's drive to innovate. Apart, we are formidable. Together, we could be extraordinary. The proposal she outlined was ambitious, a galactic cooperative, where each species would maintain its independence but work together on matters of trade, defense, and scientific advancement. The quantum relay network, once a tool of control, would become the backbone of free communication and commerce. The Dominion's Supreme Admiral, speaking publicly for the first time since the war began, surprised everyone with his response. We entered Earth's system believing we found primitives in need of protection. Instead, we found teachers. In months, humans achieved what took us centuries. Not because they were superior, but because they were willing to try what we had deemed impossible. The negotiations lasted weeks. There were heated debates, near walkouts, and moments when it seemed everything would fall apart. But each crisis was met with human adaptability, Cillian diplomacy, Dominion organization, and the combined wisdom of 24 species. Captain Santos, observing from the Phoenix, received regular updates from Director Ramon. The Dominion's actually proving quite helpful, she reported after one particularly tense session. They're taking their new roles seriously, helping to establish protocols for the Joint Defense Fleet, sharing administrative expertise. They seem almost relieved to be working with equals rather than subjects. The breakthrough came when Dr. Okafor and a team of multi-species scientists presented their latest research. They had found a way to combine human quantum drive technology with Dominion power systems and Cillian sensor arrays, creating something entirely new. It was proof that cooperation could achieve what competition could not. The Galactic Cooperative was formally established 3 months after the summit began. Its first act was to commission a joint scientific expedition to explore unknown regions of space. The fleet would include ships from all major member species, led by the Phoenix and incorporating the latest hybrid technologies. But before the expedition could depart, there was one final ceremony to perform. The 7 ships that had saved Earth gathered one last time, joined by vessels from every member species of the new cooperative. Their combined quantum drives activated in perfect synchronization, creating not a weapon, but a message of hope visible across thousands of light-years. Admiral Henderson, watching from Earth Command, smiled at the display. "You know," he told his staff, "when we built those ships, we thought we were creating weapons to ensure our survival. Instead, we forged the tools to build a better galaxy." The Phoenix's final transmission before departing on the expedition seemed to sum up humanity's journey. Captain Santos, his ship now bearing the flags of both Earth and the Cooperative, addressed the combined fleet. "A year ago, we faced extinction. We survived because we refused to submit, refused to accept limitations, refused to stop dreaming. But we thrived because we learned to reach out, to connect, to grow beyond our fears. The stars were once our destination. Now they're our home, and every species gathered here is our neighbor in the greatest community ever created." As the expedition fleet prepared to jump to quantum speed, Director Ramon stood in the Cooperative's new headquarters, formerly the Dominion's Central Command. The chamber that had once coordinated oppression now hummed with the activity of 24 species working together. She thought back to those desperate days in the Dubai facility, when humanity's future hung by a thread. They had built their ships believing they were forging the weapons of war. Instead, they had created the bridges between civilizations. The quantum drives engaged, and the combined fleet disappeared into the unknown, carrying with them the hopes of multiple civilizations. Behind them, the new Galactic Cooperative was already at work, turning ancient rivalries into partnerships, fear into curiosity, and the scars of war into foundations for peace. Humanity had entered the galaxy fighting for survival. They would go forward leading the way toward unity. The dawn of a new era had begun, and the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter with possibility. Breaking the chains. News of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. The Arcturus Dominion, undefeated for millennia, had been forced to retreat by a species they had dismissed as primitive. But humanity wasn't content with merely defending Earth. There were human colonies to liberate, alliances to forge, and a new galactic order to establish. Admiral Henderson stood before the United Earth Council, which had replaced the old national governments during the crisis. "The Dominion is weakened but not defeated. They still hold 12 of our outer colonies. More importantly, they control the major trade routes and quantum communication relays. If we want true independence, we need to break their grip on these strategic assets." The council chamber erupted in debate. Some argued for immediate military action while Earth's fleet had the advantage. Others advocated for a more diplomatic approach, suggesting they negotiate from their new position of strength. Why choose? Director Ramon proposed, her hologram flickering as it joined the discussion from the Dubai facility. "We've proven we can match their military might. Now let's prove we can outthink them as well." The strategy they developed was quintessentially human, adaptable, unpredictable, and multifaceted. While the Phoenix and Dragon would lead visible military campaigns to liberate the colonies, the Aurora and Warhawk would conduct covert operations to gather intelligence and make contact with other species chafing under Dominion rule. The Jaguar and Thunder would be tasked with raiding Dominion supply lines, while the Thunderchild and Defiant would protect Earth and coordinate the overall campaign. It was a bold plan that would stretch their resources to the limit, but humanity had grown accustomed to beating impossible odds. The liberation of New Eden, humanity's largest off-world colony, became the campaign's first major test. Captain Santos led the attack personally, the Phoenix and Dragon approaching the heavily fortified system in full view of Dominion sensors. "They're responding exactly as expected," Santos reported as dozens of Dominion warships moved to intercept them. "All attention is focused on our approach." Meanwhile, the Aurora, cloaked by its advanced stealth systems, slipped into the system from another vector. Commander Yuki Sato, the Aurora's commanding officer, had spent weeks studying New Eden's defensive grid. Deploying electronic warfare package now, she transmitted on a secure quantum channel. The effect was devastating. New Eden's orbital defenses suddenly turned on their Dominion controllers, while automated mining platforms began ramming alien ships. In the confusion, the Phoenix and Dragon struck with devastating precision. Commander Sato, Santos called as the last Dominion ship retreated, "I believe you've earned the honor of the first transmission." The Aurora decloaked above New Eden's capital city. Sato's voice, broadcast on all frequencies, carried a message of hope. "People of New Eden, this is the United Earth Fleet. You are now free." Similar scenes played out across human space over the following months. Each victory brought not only liberated colonies but also valuable intelligence about Dominion operations and, increasingly, requests for assistance from other subjugated species. The Warhawk, under Captain Emma Chen, made first contact with the Silian Alliance, a coalition of species that had been resisting Dominion influence from the shadows. "They've been watching our campaign with great interest," Chen reported to Earth Command. "They have extensive intelligence networks but limited military capability. They're proposing a partnership." The Council debated the offer extensively. Working with aliens had been unthinkable just months ago, but humanity had learned much since then. The partnership was approved, and soon Silian intelligence combined with human military prowess began achieving what neither could alone. But the Dominion wasn't idle. They had learned from their defeats, adapting their tactics and developing countermeasures to human technology. The campaign's turning point came at the Battle of Proxima Station, a critical quantum communications hub. The Thunder, conducting what should have been a routine raid, found itself trapped by a new type of Dominion spatial distortion field. Captain Amara Okafor, who had helped develop the ship's quantum weapons, faced a difficult choice. "The only way to break free is to overload our quantum core," she informed her crew. "It will disable our weapons, but the resulting disruption should collapse their trap and take half their fleet with it." The gamble worked, but the Thunder was left virtually defenseless. The Dominion, sensing weakness, moved in for the kill. What they didn't expect was the Jaguar, which had been shadowing the Thunder's mission. Captain Miguel Rodriguez executed a series of maneuvers that should have torn his ship apart, drawing enemy fire while evacuating the Thunder's crew. Both ships ultimately escaped, but the message was clear: the Dominion was adapting. Humanity would need to adapt faster. The solution came from an unexpected source. The Silians revealed that other species had been studying human quantum technology, particularly the innovations made under pressure during the initial invasion. By combining this research with Silian insights and human ingenuity, a new generation of weapons and defenses began to emerge. The Thunderchild became the first testbed for these hybrid technologies. Its already formidable shields were enhanced with Silian phase shift technology, while its weapons incorporated principles discovered by 3 different species studying human quantum physics. "We're not just breaking the Dominion's chains," Admiral Henderson observed during a strategic briefing. "We're forging new links between species who have been isolated by fear for too long." The campaign's final phase targeted the Dominion's core strategic assets, their primary shipyards, command centers, and the quantum relay network that maintained their grip on galactic commerce. But instead of merely destroying these facilities, humanity had a different plan. The Defiant, coordinating with Silian engineers, developed a way to hack and repurpose the relay network. When the signal was sent, the entire communications grid that had once enforced Dominion control became an open network, allowing free communication and trade between all species. Faced with the loss of their key strategic assets and the growing alliance between their former subjects, the Dominion finally opened diplomatic channels. Their message was terse: "We wish to discuss terms." Admiral Henderson's reply was equally brief: "The terms are simple. The era of Dominion is over. The era of cooperation begins." As the human fleet gathered for the upcoming negotiations, Captain Santos reflected on how far they had come. Humanity had entered the galactic stage as victims of aggression. They had proven themselves in battle, but more importantly, they had shown they could learn, adapt, and grow. The chains of Dominion control were broken, but the real work was just beginning. Humanity's next challenge would be helping to build something new from the ashes of the old order, a galaxy where strength served cooperation rather than conquest. Rising thunder. The Phoenix limped back to Earth orbit, its hull scarred by dozens of near misses and direct hits. But Captain Santos's gambit had worked. The Dominion fleet's advance had been delayed by 18 crucial days. Those days had made all the difference. Status report on the fleet. Admiral Henderson demanded from Earth Command, his holographic form flickering slightly as it appeared in each of the 7 facilities simultaneously. Director Ramon spoke first. HMS Defiant is ready for launch. All systems nominal. Similar confirmations came from the other facilities, one by one. Moscow's Aurora, Beijing's Dragon, Sao Paulo's Jaguar, Sydney's Warhawk, Lagos's Thunder, and Vancouver's Thunderchild. Humanity's answer to extinction was complete. The launching of the ships themselves was a sight that would be remembered for generations. From beneath the sands of Dubai, through the ice of Moscow, from hidden mountain bases and underwater facilities, humanity's fleet rose. 7 ships, each unique, each representing the peak of human engineering in desperation. Captain Santos watched from the Phoenix's bridge as his new allies took formation around him. Fleet Command, this is Phoenix. All ships report in. Aurora, standing by. Stealth systems active. Dragon, weapons hot and ready. Jaguar, engines primed for combat maneuvers. Warhawk, electronic warfare suite online. Thunder, quantum weapons charged. Thunderchild, shields at maximum. Defiant, ready to engage. The fleet's first challenge came sooner than expected. The Dominion had left a substantial screening force in the asteroid belt, hidden from Earth's sensors. As humanity's ships approached, the alien vessels emerged from their hiding spots. Multiple contacts. Aurora's tactical officer reported. Counting 30+ Dominion warships. Captain Santos's voice remained steady. Remember your training. They expect us to fight like them, organized, predictable. Show them how humans wage war. Execute battle plan chaos. What followed was unlike anything in the history of space warfare. The human fleet split apart, each ship fighting in its own unique way. The Aurora vanished from sensors completely, only to reappear behind enemy lines, wreaking havoc with precision strikes. The Dragon lived up to its name, its overwhelming firepower cutting through Dominion shields like paper. The Jaguar danced through the battlefield, its enhanced engines allowing it to perform maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. The Warhawk jammed Dominion communications while feeding false targeting data to their weapons. The Thunder's quantum weapons created localized distortions in spacetime, trapping enemy ships in temporal eddies. Thunderchild proved why it deserved its namesake, its advanced shields absorbing punishment that would have destroyed any other vessel while returning fire with devastating accuracy. The Defiant coordinated the assault, its tactical AI processing the chaos of battle and finding opportunities for devastating combination attacks. The Phoenix, despite its battle damage, fought with the experience of a veteran, using techniques learned from dozens of previous engagements. Captain Santos watched as his fleet turned what should have been an even battle into a complete rout. Enemy fleet is retreating, Aurora reported. No casualties on our side. Minor damage to Thunderchild's port shields, but they're already regenerating. But there was no time to celebrate. Long-range sensors detected the main Dominion fleet approaching, hundreds of ships, including several of their dreaded Worldbreaker-class dreadnoughts. This is what we've trained for, Santos transmitted to the fleet. Everything we've learned, everything we've built, has led to this moment. The Dominion thinks they know what we're capable of. Let's prove them wrong. The human fleet took up position between Earth and the approaching armada. Behind them, the combined space forces of Earth, while primitively armed compared to the new ships, stood ready to assist. The Dominion's initial transmission was predictably arrogant. Your resistance is impressive but futile. Submit now, and we will show mercy. Admiral Henderson himself responded from Earth Command. Humanity does not submit. Not to tyrants, not to empires, and certainly not to bullies who mistake technological advantage for superiority. We've learned much since our first encounter. Allow us to demonstrate. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. The Dominion brought overwhelming numbers and centuries of tactical doctrine. Humanity brought innovation, unpredictability, and the raw determination of a species fighting for its survival. The Aurora and Jaguar executed impossible maneuvers, drawing Dominion ships into carefully planned ambushes where the Dragon's weapons could tear them apart. The Warhawk's electronic warfare turned entire enemy formations against each other. The Thunder's quantum weapons created gaps in the Dominion's seemingly impenetrable lines. Thunderchild lived up to its role as the fleet's shield, drawing fire from multiple dreadnoughts while barely scratching its enhanced defenses. The Defiant coordinated it all, its quantum AI processing combat data faster than any organic mind could comprehend. The Phoenix, with Santos's experienced crew, exploited every weakness, every opportunity. When a Worldbreaker-class dreadnought threatened to break through their lines, Santos ordered a maneuver that brought 3 human ships together in perfect synchronization. Their combined quantum drives created a spatial distortion that literally folded space around the massive alien vessel, crushing it like paper. Hours passed. The debris of destroyed ships, mostly Dominion, created an artificial asteroid field around the battlefield. But still they came, wave after wave of alien ships throwing themselves against humanity's defenses. "They're trying to wear us down," Santos observed. "Our quantum drives need time to recharge, but they can keep throwing ships at us indefinitely." The answer came from Dr. Okafor aboard the Thunder. "Captain, we've been analyzing the spatial distortions from our weapons. There's a pattern forming. If we could coordinate all 8 ships, we could create a quantum shockwave," Dr. Tanaka finished from the Defiant. "But the power requirements would be enormous. We'd be defenseless for several minutes afterward." Santos looked at the tactical display, watching as more Dominion ships emerged from hyperspace. They needed something decisive. "All ships, form up on the Phoenix. Dr. Okafor, transmit the calculations. We end this now." The human fleet moved as one, their quantum drives synchronizing in a way that had never been attempted. The Dominion, sensing an opportunity, pressed their attack. Quantum synchronization at 60%. 70%. 80%. The numbers climbed as enemy fire splashed against their shields. 90%, synchronization complete. "All ships," Santos commanded, "fire." The combined quantum pulse that erupted from the human fleet distorted space itself. A wave of twisted reality expanded outward at light speed, catching hundreds of Dominion ships in its effect. Metal screamed as it was subjected to forces it was never designed to withstand. Ships were torn apart, crushed, or simply ceased to exist as local spacetime collapsed around them. When it was over, nearly 3/4 of the Dominion fleet was gone. The remainder, witnessing power they had never thought possible from such a primitive species, began to retreat in disorder. The human fleet, their drives temporarily drained, could only watch as their enemies fled. But it was enough. Humanity had faced the full might of the Dominion and emerged victorious. As celebrations erupted across Earth, Captain Santos transmitted a final message to the retreating aliens: "Remember this day. Remember what happened when you threatened humanity with extinction. We will not start wars, but we will finish them. Earth is now and forever free." The Forge of Defiance. The Arcturus Dominion's retreat bought Earth precious time, but everyone knew they would return. This time, they wouldn't underestimate humanity. In underground facilities across the globe, the race to build an entire fleet had begun. Director Aisha Rahman stood at the viewport of the Dubai Aerospace Center, watching as massive equipment was lowered into the facility's cavernous manufacturing bay. The Phoenix proved it could be done, she addressed the assembled team leaders. "Now we have to do it 6 more times, faster than before. The facility beneath Dubai's desert sands was one of 7 such installations, each tasked with building a sister ship to the Phoenix. Moscow, Beijing, Sao Paulo, Sydney, Lagos, and Vancouver, humanity's greatest engineering minds were now united in a single purpose. "We've detected increased Dominion activity at the edge of the system," General Thomas Wright reported during the daily briefing. The holographic display showed dozens of new enemy signatures. "Intelligence suggests they're bringing in their heavy units. We estimate 3 months before they're in position for a full invasion." Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the quantum physics specialist who had helped develop the Phoenix's revolutionary drive system, shook her head. "The improved designs will take at least 4 months to implement. We can't rush quantum mechanics." "Then we adapt," Aisha replied, her voice firm. "The Phoenix showed us what's possible. Now we innovate further." She brought up schematics for a modified drive system. "If we can't match their numbers, we make each ship count for 10 of theirs." The work continued around the clock. In Moscow, engineers perfected a new type of quantum-entangled targeting system that could predict enemy movements microseconds before they occurred. Beijing's facilities developed metamaterial armor that could adapt to different types of energy weapons. Sao Paulo created artificial intelligence systems to handle the complex calculations needed for the improved drive systems. But the Dominion wasn't idle. Their probes tested Earth's defenses daily, searching for weaknesses. The Phoenix, now under the command of Captain Santos, ran continuous patrol missions, often engaging in brief skirmishes with enemy scouts. Each encounter provided valuable data about Dominion tactics and technology. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Amara Okafor, a theoretical physicist working in the Lagos facility, discovered a way to use the quantum drive side effects as a weapon. "The spacetime distortions we've been trying to minimize," she explained to the global research team, "they can be focused, weaponized. We can turn their own space against them." The discovery revolutionized the ship's designs. What had been a limitation became an advantage. The new vessels wouldn't just fight the Dominion, they would manipulate the very fabric of spacetime to do it. In Vancouver's underwater facility, the first of the new ships took shape. The HMS Thunderchild, named after the fictional warship that fought against overwhelming odds, incorporated all the lessons learned from the Phoenix, plus Dr. Okafor's revolutionary weapons system. But time was running out. Dominion forces were massing faster than expected. "They're adapting their tactics," Captain Santos warned during a secure transmission from the Phoenix. "The surprise factor won't work again. They're learning our capabilities." The response came from Sydney, where Dr. Emma Cooper had been working on electronic warfare systems. "Then we give them too much to learn," she proposed. "Each ship with different capabilities, different tactics. Make them face 7 unique threats instead of 7 identical ones." The suggestion was immediately adopted. Each facility began specializing their vessel for different roles. Moscow's ship, the HMS Aurora, focused on electronic warfare and stealth. Beijing's HMS Dragon emphasized overwhelming firepower. Sao Paulo's HMS Jaguar prioritized speed and maneuverability. The work took its toll. The stress of knowing humanity's survival hung in the balance affected everyone. Dr. Tanaka collapsed from exhaustion and had to be forcibly ordered to rest. General Wright suffered a minor heart attack but returned to his post within days, against medical advice. Then came the news they'd been dreading. "Dominion fleet is accelerating," the Phoenix reported. "New estimate puts them at Earth in 3 weeks, not 3 months." Director Ramon called an emergency meeting of all facility leaders. "We have 3 ships combat ready," she summarized. 3 more at 80% completion. The last one's barely begun assembly. "Launch what we have," General Wright argued. The Phoenix proved one ship could make a difference. 4 could turn the tide. Dr. Cooper disagreed. "The Dominion's bringing their elite units this time. These ships need to work together," as a coordinated fleet. We need all 7. The debate raged for hours until Captain Santos interrupted from the Phoenix. There's another option, he transmitted. We've been studying their formation. They're advancing in a standard battle line, confident in their superiority. Arrogant. The Phoenix can hit their supply lines, disrupt their advance. Buy you maybe 2 more weeks. The risk was enormous. The Phoenix would be operating alone, deep in enemy territory. But Santos's crew volunteered to a person. They think they know what humanity is capable of, Santos said. Let's show them they haven't seen anything yet. As the Phoenix departed on its desperate mission, the work in the 7 facilities reached a fever pitch. Sleep was forgotten. Meals were taken at workstations. Every scientist, engineer, and technician pushed themselves to their absolute limits. In Dubai, Director Rahman watched the countdown clocks on her display, time until the Dominion arrived, time until each ship would be ready. The margins were measured in hours now, not days or weeks. Success or failure, humanity's fate would be decided soon. She looked out at the HMS Defiant taking shape in the manufacturing bay, its quantum drive already pulsing with possibility. The name seemed appropriate. In the face of extinction, humanity had not cowered or submitted. Instead, they had forged their defiance into weapons that challenged the laws of physics themselves. The Dominion was coming, bringing the full might of their empire to bear. But this time, Earth would meet them with more than just the Phoenix. This time, humanity would show them what 7 billion minds united in purpose could achieve. As if sensing her thoughts, the Defiance drive flared brighter, casting shadows across the facility. In 6 other locations across the globe, similar scenes were playing out. The forge fires of human ingenuity burned bright, racing against time to ensure that humanity's first victory wouldn't be its last. The quantum communications array aboard the International Space Station picked up the signal at 0347 UTC. Commander Elena Rossi was the first human to hear it, a precisely modulated pattern that couldn't possibly be natural. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries. First contact. But no one had imagined it quite like this. Control, this is ISS. We're detecting an anomalous signal. Running it through decrypt now, Elena reported, her hands steady despite her racing heart. The reply from Houston came back garbled, the first sign that something was wrong. Within hours, similar signals were being detected by every major observatory and listening post on Earth. The message, when finally decoded, was brutally simple: your system is now under the protection of the Arcturus Dominion. Resist, and face extinction. Admiral James Henderson stood before the United Nations Security Council 3 days later, his weathered face grave as he delivered his report. The alien fleet will reach our outer solar system within 2 weeks. Based on their energy signatures, we're dealing with technology centuries beyond our own. Traditional military options. He paused, jaw tightening, are not viable. The Chinese representative leaned forward. Then what do you suggest, Admiral? Surrender? Henderson's eyes flashed. No. I suggest we do what humanity does best, we innovate. We adapt. We overcome. He gestured, and a hologram sprang to life above the council table. This is Project Helios. A warship unlike anything humanity has ever attempted. The design slowly rotated above them, sleek, predatory, and absolutely massive. We've had theoretical designs for decades, Henderson continued. Quantum gravity manipulation. Plasma fusion hybrid drives. Metamaterial armor. But we've never had the resources or political will to build it. Until now. The Russian representative scoffed. This is fantasy. Even if possible, it would take decades. We don't have decades, Henderson countered. We have months. Maybe less. But we have something they don't expect, desperation, and the creativity it breeds. The project was approved within hours. Every major nation pledged resources, technology, and personnel. Old rivals became partners overnight. Hidden research facilities were revealed, secret technologies shared. Humanity's first true united effort began. Dr. Kai Nakamura led the propulsion team, working impossible hours to perfect the theoretical drives. The math works, he insisted during yet another sleepless night. We can generate enough power to tear a hole in spacetime itself. We just have to survive the process. Captain Maya Patel, chosen to lead the ship's tactical systems, spent countless hours in simulation. They'll expect us to fight like them, she told her team. We won't. We'll fight like humans, unpredictable, adaptive, relentless. The Arcturus Dominion's first wave arrived exactly as predicted. Their ships, vast crystalline structures that seemed to defy physics, took up position around Earth's orbital paths. Their message was the same: submit to protection, or face consequences. Earth's governments played for time, engaging in diplomatic exchanges while Project Helios continued in secret. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, in a facility carved from the frozen continent itself, humanity's greatest weapon took shape. The Dominion grew impatient. Their first demonstration of power vaporized a small uninhabited island in the Pacific. The second turned the Sahara's sand to glass. Each display was accompanied by the same message: submit. But humans are stubborn creatures. Each attack only fueled their determination. When the Dominion sensors detected unusual energy readings from Antarctica, they dismissed them as harmless human attempts at defense. Their arrogance would prove costly. Dr. Isabella Reyes, the project's chief engineer, stood in the control center on launch day, her hands trembling as she initiated the startup sequence. All systems nominal, she reported, though nothing about this was nominal. They were about to attempt something that should have taken generations to perfect. The facility's massive doors began to open, ice groaning as ancient glaciers were pushed aside. In the launch bay, the HMS Phoenix waited, a sword forged in humanity's darkest hour, named for humanity's capacity to rise from its own ashes. The Dominion detected the power spike too late. By the time their sensors registered the threat, the Phoenix had already broken through the ice sheet, its experimental drives tearing a hole in reality itself as it accelerated to impossible speeds. Captain Victor Santos, the Phoenix's commanding officer, felt the weight of history as he gave his first order. All hands, battle stations. Let's show them humanity's answer to extinction. The Phoenix's first battle lasted less than 5 minutes. The Dominion cruiser, caught completely off guard, barely had time to raise shields before the human vessel's main weapon, dubbed the Solar Lance, cut through its defenses like paper. The remaining Dominion ships scrambled to respond, but the Phoenix was already gone, jumping to another position using its revolutionary drive. When it reappeared, it was behind their formation, weapons already firing. Admiral Henderson watched the battle feeds from Earth, a grim smile on his face. The Dominion had expected submission from a primitive species. Instead, they had awakened humanity's most powerful instinct, survival at any cost. The Phoenix's victory that day was more than just military, it was psychological. The Dominion, for the first time in their long history, faced an opponent who refused to play by their rules. An opponent who had taken centuries of theoretical science and turned it into reality in mere months, driven by the purest of motivations, survival. As the remaining Dominion ships retreated in disarray, Captain Santos opened a channel to Earth. His message was brief, but it would be remembered for generations: Earth is free. And we're just getting started. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. Humanity had shown the galaxy something it had never seen before, a species that could advance centuries in mere months when pushed to the brink. The Phoenix was just the beginning. In shipyards across the solar system, more vessels were already under construction. The Arcturus Dominion had made a critical mistake. They had threatened humanity with extinction, never realizing that humans were at their most dangerous when backed into a corner. Now they would learn what countless others throughout human history had discovered, that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or its weapons, but its unconquerable spirit and its ability to unite in the face of extinction.